this here. Okay. Let me just F5 that. Interesting. There we go. There we go. Okay, so let me just grab this. And we're going to go over here. And we're going to go over here. And we're going to do this. There we go. That should about do it. That should about do it. So we'll get started here in about 4 minutes. And we'll see what we're going to see. We'll get going because we got lots of stuff to discuss today. I would assume because I've been gone for a while. I've been gone. I have very good reasons for that, but I have not been around. So sorry. Haven't been here. It's been rough. Hi, Slick. How's it going? It has been very rough. But, you know, I did make one improvement, and we'll get into that. We will get into that. We've got about 3 minutes before the show starts. Yes. Hi, J-Chip. I'll be showing my latest anime pickup later on here in a minute. I know that would interest you. But we're just waiting for everybody to get in so we can get things going. Oh. Well, same old, Chris. Same old. Kinda, sorta, anyway. Kinda, sorta. I'll get into all that in a couple minutes. Just waiting for a few more people to kick in, and then we'll get this show on the road. Just make sure that everybody can hear me all right. Let's make sure I got my microphone nice and centered. And we've got about 1 minute, and we will get going. Yum. I'm enjoying some PS1 and old PC games. I don't do the old PC game thing much, but I still play PlayStation 1. Of course, I don't collect old PC games either, so you know there is that detriment to that plan. So give it just another few seconds, and we'll get started here. Oh man, that hurts. We'll address all of that coming up here. There we go. All right, so it is Saturday. It is 6 o'clock, March 26th, 2022, and this is the 7thCast. As always, I am your venerable host, your friendly neighborhood 7th. 8th is off in his room doing 8th things. And good Lord, have I had a time of it the last couple of weeks. Uh, March is when my company's peak season kicks in. So there's been a lot of additional work stuff to do, uh, a lot of work requests. I'd knock out 30 of them, and I thought, that takes a nice big chunk out of the workload, and then I'd go in and 56 more had taken its place. It's just that kind of thing. It'll be like that for a couple of months. March, April, May. Won't start to slow down again till around June. It's just the way it is. And add to that I haven't been feeling too well lately. No coof stuff. It has to do with all the stomach stuff that I go through. Normally, I would feel pretty much normal, and then every 6 months or so, I'd have a bit of a bad attack, and then I'd be fine again for another 6 months. Well, I had an attack in late January, and normally after 3 or 4 days, I'd be fine. But this time, after the attack, I didn't have another one, but I was having a lot of after effects, which is basically saying, I've been on and off having the liquid shits since early February. And when it happens, I'm just all burning up in here and burning down in my lower back and whatnot. And, I had my blood run. There was no spike of white blood cells or anything, so they know it's not, cancerous or anything like that. They don't know if it's at this point they're gonna run some more tests. They don't know if it's just irritable bowel syndrome or something else. But today's not so bad. My back is still hurting somewhat, but I've had some days where I've been hurting so bad that it's a struggle just to sit here in this chair for 9 hours and do my job. And so, when you go through that for a whole week, it's hard to find the gumption to sit here and chat with you guys for another 3 hours. But luckily today has been a low pain day, although I am going to take a couple of ibuprofen here just to make sure that I don't have any negative effects while we're going through this. And don't worry, I don't take ibuprofen on a regular basis. I just keep it here in case my lower back starts to hurt so bad that I can't stand it, and then I'll take it. But because ibuprofen, taking it too often is bad for your liver. And I already have fatty liver disease. And that's the other thing, is they think that there's a possibility that all of this is just a side effect of the fatty liver disease, which can also cause gallbladder problems. And gallbladder problems can cause the kind of symptoms that I'm having. So, it is what it is. But on to merrier things. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I am somewhat sharper, or I should be somewhat sharper than you've seen before. And that is because for the first time ever, we are streaming in 4K. I upgraded the camera to a Logitech Brio, so I am now in 4K. If you want to go ahead and set your resolution setting down in the corner of your YouTube window there, you will see that 4K is now an available selection, and you can switch over to that mode and see my ugly ass sharper than you've ever seen it before. Unless you've seen me at Retropalooza. So, like I said, every bit of money that I make off of YouTube goes back into trying to make this a better thing, even though it would appear that I am now way past the point of ever getting out of having a dead channel. Even my new channel isn't getting that much traffic. So, at least I've made improvements. There aren't that many of you that around that's going to notice, but I've made improvements. No, these are not new glasses. These are the same glasses, my prescription Ray-Bans. It's just that you're seeing them in 4K instead of seeing them at 1080p. Now, I had another issue that I thought I wasn't going to be able to stream tonight. I was sitting here working. Had my desktop going, or my laptop going, hard at work. And I look over at my desktop here to look at my Twitter, and my screen's frozen. Mouse cursor ain't moving, nothing like that. So I couldn't Control Alt Delete. I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't get into Task Manager, not a thing. So I hard shut down the system, powered it back up. The fans came on, and I heard click, 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 and then it shut off again. Then it turned back on, click, 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 shut off again. Long story short, the RAM had burnt out. My RAM had fried. 16 gigs of RAM. And it was toast. The RAM was toast. So I had to buy new RAM after having 8th test it with his RAM to make sure that the motherboard hadn't fried too. And everything worked fine with his RAM, so I upgraded my RAM. Since I was going to have to buy more RAM anyway, I upgraded my RAM to 32 gigs, so now I have even more memory to play with when making videos and whatnot, which is nice. But we're back up and running. So, did I see the Great Exposer's new video? I'm not subscribed to the Great Exposer, and he keeps getting banned off of Twitter, so these days I never know whether he's made a new video or not. Hi, 7th. A year ago you talked about the Boss ME80 effects unit. Was wondering how you like it, pros and cons. I really like it. I really like the dexterity of it and being able to create and save your own effects. I like how it works with the audio unit that I bought and interfacing with the PC and everything. It's all very simple. It does feel like a pedal that probably came out 15 years ago as opposed to something new, simply because of the fact that it still has just a little old number-based LCD indicator. You know, it doesn't have like the new modern pedals that have little touch screens and all that with folders and all that. It doesn't have all of that. But for me, that's not necessarily a negative, because I think there is such a thing as overcomplicating pedals. So, yeah. You should have put 1 terabyte of RAM in your PC. What am I ever going to need 1 terabyte of RAM for? Most of the stuff I run is not even going to use what I have put in it. 1 terabyte. How much would that cost if they're even, you know, I haven't I don't regularly go shopping for RAM. You know, if I don't even know if the motherboard that I have, if there is such a thing as 500 gig sticks, I don't even know if my motherboard would support them. 1 terabyte of RAM. Come on. 1 terabyte SSD, I could see that, but it already has a 1 terabyte SSD in it. Anyway, actually, I think it might have a 2 terabyte. I can't remember now. But anyway, those are all the things that have caused me to not be around lately. So, show of hands, who has actually watched my review of Babylon's Fall that was uploaded recently. Remember, y'all's donations paid for that. So you would think y'all would want to watch it. But as far as I know, I don't think it's exactly set the world on fire views-wise. Let me look. Let me look. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Alright, content. It has a whopping 153 views. Wow. Staggering. Since I've opened this channel, the biggest viewed video I've had is my review of Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance for some reason. And it still hasn't even broken 1,000 views. It's at 665. And it's the only one that's broken 500 views. I have some others that have broke 400, but good God. Of course, there's only 252 subscribers, but you did. It was hilarious. Well, I'm glad somebody watched it and liked it. Of course, you know, I don't go around to forums and whatnot and advertise myself. I don't advertise my new videos on any other streaming social media platform aside from Twitter. You know, I don't advertise them on Facebook and all that kind of thing. So, you know, and obviously YouTube isn't going to lift a finger to try to get my audience up. They don't care. So word of mouth is pretty much all I can hope for, because I'm not getting recommended, and half the time they don't even send notifications to the people that have subscribed to me that I've done anything. So it is what it is at this point. Better Statue of Liberty fight scene: Spider-Man, X-Men, or Ghostbusters 2? I gotta go with Ghostbusters 2. If I remember right, there's a Mac Pro that has a terabyte of RAM. It costs $18,000. Oh, well then, yeah, no problem. I can just stick a terabyte of RAM in this sucker. You gotta be kidding me. That's more RAM than... It's going to be years before I would need a terabyte of RAM in this machine. Or any machine. Anyway. Since I told J-Chip that I'd do this, I do have a new anime pickup. I picked up Needless. And the reason I'm excited about this is that I used to have Needless on Blu-ray. I had the old edition on Blu-ray, and it disappeared mysteriously when I moved here. I suspect it might have been yet another thing that my ex took with her when she moved back to South Carolina. So I get down here and no Needless. So Sentai Filmworks, or whatever the name of that company is, announced that they were going to be re-releasing it. So I bought the re-release. I pre-ordered it, and I've been waiting on it a while, and it showed up this week. Haven't gotten to watch any of it yet. As you can see, I haven't even taken the plastic off of it. Which, where's my handy-dandy knife? We'll just take care of that problem right now. Let's take care of that problem right now. We'll get that plastic off of there. Watch me accidentally stab myself trying to get the plastic off these things. I hate when they put shrink wrap on stuff. I just hate it. I mean, I know it increases value to never take the shrink wrap off, but I have never been that kind of collector. I don't care about sealed. Couldn't care less about that. For me, if you're not going to play it, what's the point of buying it and collecting it if it's just going to sit on the shelf? So, here we go. Needless. Okay, there's nothing inside except for the discs. It is a 3-disc set. There we go. Needless. This is also my favorite anime theme song. For anyone that's curious, you can just go on YouTube and look up Needless theme song and it'll come up. Pretty cool, pretty cool. So, another thing that came this week was this. I started playing it last night. Oh, wow. I didn't notice that it had blurred all that out so bad. Let me see what I can do about that. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Turn that off. And then we're going to try this again. All right, so let's try it again without the blur. So, here it is. And here's what the first disc looks like. And let's turn that one around. Here's what well, that one's upside down too. Why are all these discs upside down for? And here's what the other discs look like. My office is a little bit trash because of how I've been feeling. I try to keep things clean in here, but with me feeling the way that I have, it's not been a good. But and here's those liver pills that I take for my supplement thing for my fatty liver disease. These are supposed to help keep my liver purged of bad stuff. And you guys hear me talk about my my infamous super smart Chihuahua JD that isn't with us anymore. I keep this picture with me. This is what he looked like. That's my buddy. He was my bestest friend, and now he's gone. Lived to be 16 years old. He was a good boy. Anyway, this came in the mail today. Or not today, but yesterday. And I started playing it last night. And I played it right up until about 30 minutes before I went live. From the moment that I got up, I am at currently level 16 on chapter 6. And so, if you have any questions about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, I'm happy to answer them. That being said, I am very pissed off right now because I was supposed to get 2 games yesterday. 2, and I only got the 1 because I pre-ordered 2 games. And I've had them on pre-order for a while. Okay? Money is tighter because, of course, paying student loans. My rent went up by $165 a month. First time I've gotten a decent raise at my job in a while. And it's taking up like the increase in my rent is taking like 60% of my raise for the month. So, is what it is, folks. This lovely economy that we're in, everything is going up. And because everything is going up, you have assholes from California that are all moving over to Texas in droves. And they're willing to pay more than what these properties are actually worth, which causes the property values of everything to go up, which causes the property value of the house that I'm renting to go up, which causes my rent to go up. So thank you, California assholes, for making my life harder. I really appreciate it. Anyway, I was supposed to get Tiny Tina's Wonderlands and Ghostwire Tokyo. I pre-ordered them both from Amazon. And for Tiny Tina, I didn't get the deluxe edition, but I got the next level edition that came with 2 mostly useless DLC packs. One of them is just a cosmetic thing, and the other one starts you out with a legendary weapon and a legendary spell. Big whoop, right? Here's the funny part. I paid $69 for this, and then today, Amazon let me know that they're refunding $10 of that back as part of their low price guarantee. So I ended up getting it for $59 on PS5, $59. Ghostwire Tokyo didn't show up. And I go to look, and Ghostwire Tokyo has not even shipped. And I got a shipping update that said, your game will arrive now on April 8th. April 8th. That's 2 weeks from today. Why? Well, I thought, you know what? Screw it. Today, I'll just cancel my pre-order and I'll run up to the GameStop and buy a copy there. So I call up to the GameStop and they're like, well, we only have one copy of it left and we can't put it on reserve because there's only one left. So if you can get here before anyone else snatches it up or buys it online, it's yours. I didn't bother. Maybe I'll check into it tomorrow when I've got less to do. Because right now I'm playing Tiny Tina anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But, yeah. It would appear that either Bethesda didn't make that many copies of it, or that this is turning out to be a more popular physical seller than a lot of these retailers thought that it would be. Because GameStop almost sold out. All the stores around me either had no copies or just one left. The deluxe edition is completely sold out. Amazon apparently took more pre-orders than they were going to get copies for, and that's why I'm having to wait 2 weeks. It is what it is. So I've had a rough few weeks, and not getting the game that I wanted this weekend ain't helping that. What else was I going to talk about today? Oh, PlayStation Spartacus. We'll just do that open format. I don't really have any kind of set thoughts on it, but so we'll do that just kind of open format. As far as Tiny Tina goes, it's Borderlands. It's Borderlands in a fantasy setting, more or less like the DLC, only way bigger than the DLC. This is a full-length Borderlands game. There are hours and hours of stuff to do in this game. I've mainly just been following the story and not doing a lot of side quests. I've put probably 10 hours into it. I'm in chapter 6, and there's like side missions out the ass that I haven't even taken, and it's a lot like Borderlands 3 in that each world, I guess you could say, that you go into is just a massive, massive map and has tons of stuff to do in it. The only complaint that I have about it is how much you enjoy it is really going to hinge upon whether or not you think Tiny Tina as a character is funny. If she gets on your nerves, then you're probably going to want to play it with the sound turned down a little bit, because she talks at you and to you and just to whomever through the whole game. Tina is constantly talking. And so if you don't like Tiny Tina, then this might be something where you just want to turn the sound off, turn on your stereo, and kill some bad guys. And of course, whether you think the game is funny or not will depend on that too. Although there have been some moments that have made me laugh out loud. A lot of it are dad puns. This game is full of dad puns. Brick from Borderlands is in this. And he is a fairy with wings, and he's called like the fairy skull crusher or the fairy god smasher or something like that, you know. But he had this mission where this giant beanstalk had grown up in the middle of this little town, and it was overridden with spores, these, you know, evil mushrooms and stuff like that. So you go on a mission to free these people's village from the evil spores that are coming out of this beanstalk. And once you're done, Brick is running away, and he's leaving, and he says, "Now remember, hero, only you can prevent spores." And that one got me. It was such an over-the-top dad pun that one made me laugh. That one made me laugh. And when you finally kill, one of the cool things about the game is you can customize what your character sounds like, and it has male and female presets. And then when you pick the one you like, you can actually lower the pitch of their voice between like a deep or a more higher pitch. And I picked the one that's called Strange. And Strange, he kind of sounds like Wesley from The Princess Bride, but really snarky. So basically that same actor, if you've ever played his version of The Bard's Tale, the action RPG, it sounds like that, but I've turned it down to where his voice is a little bit deeper. And so I finally killed the main evil mushroom of this area, and the body is lying there dying, and my character looks at it and says, "The fungus is no longer among us." And it got me again. I started laughing. So it's like every character in the game except Tiny Tina, for me, is funny. I don't find Tiny Tina funny. I find her irritating. She gets on my nerves, because to me she's like the female equivalent of that Martin Short character from the 80s, Ed Grimley. She's like a female teenage Ed Grimley, and I'm not having that. You know, she has said some funny things over since Borderlands 2. But for the most part, I have not been enamored with that character the way other people are. But I am having a lot of fun with the game. I am having a lot of fun with it. It's been enjoyable. Let me catch up with the chat here. Thoughts on G4BS lately? Well, you know, they're trying too late to right the ship and make people forget about Frosk. And they do that by sticking girls in bikinis and putting them in tubs of bouncy balls. And it's my understanding there's now been some hot tub scenes that simulated various things. So they've tried to get their audience back by going in the completely opposite direction. And I don't know if Frosk has commented on the new content or not, but boy howdy, way to kill a franchise that was already dead and you were trying to revive. Good Lord. Where did you find that? Oh, where did I find Needless? Like I said, it was on the Sentai website, Sentai Media or Sentai, whatever the name of that company is. You know, see on the corner, Sentai. You go to their main website and they had it available for pre-order. It ain't cheap. It was $60. The original one I bought for $30, and now it's like over $100 on Amazon, but I got this one for $60. Anyway. Are you picking up Hogwarts Legacy? Yeah, I'll play it when it comes out. I do have a concern with Hogwarts Legacy, and that's the rhythm of combat. I've watched the gameplay footage, and the rhythm of the combat concerns me because a lot of it seems that you're running and then you have to stand still and cast a spell. And then you're running and you're dodging and then you stand still and cast a spell. I want to be able to run while I'm casting stuff. You know, I want to be circle strafing bad guys while I'm flipendo. You know, I want to be able to do that. I'm not sure that I like this whole, you know, run, dodge, get out of the way, turn around, stand still, and cast your spell. I don't know that I'm going to like that. We'll see. I haven't talked about politics, Shadowhood. I talked about money and money problems and the financials that are going on with that and the reality of what it's causing in my area. I did not discuss Republicans. I did not discuss Democrats. I did not discuss policy. It's all right, wannabe. It is what it is. Sup, guys, tuning in, and when I heard get audience back, thought you were talking about the Halo show disaster. Oh, that's bad, too. That's bad, too. When did I get a PS5? I got a PS5 launch week. I've had a PS5 over a year. I had it pre-ordered. Let's see here. I know Sentai, they're infamous for putting their stuff on sale, so I might pick it up when they do a flash sale again. Hogwarts Legacy doesn't look... Like I said, I have some concerns about the combat. Are you going to buy Forspoken? 8th wants to play it. I'm still kind of reserved. I think some of the combat and some of the level traversal reminds me a lot of Infamous, but I'm reserving judgment at this point. Halo show versus The Last of Us show. Well, I haven't seen The Last of Us show, but I have seen the first episode of Halo, and it was pretty trash. It was pretty trash. Do you care about J.K. Rowling's controversy? Not especially. Hi, 7th. Hope you're doing well today. I've been going through some changes. I know what that's like. Hey, 7th, what's cooking? I'm not cooking nothing right now. Might be cooking up some turds for after the show. That's about it. Get me some water. J.K. Rowling was better when she stayed in her shell. Yeah, it seems to me that celebrities of any type, they're not politicians and they're not scientists. So I really think they should just, make their content and keep their politics to themselves. I'm excited for Forspoken. I just need them to get the frame rate at 60. I hope it'll be 60. Oh, and that reminds me. There's something interesting about Tiny Tina. When I have been in the habit since I started playing on PS5 that I typically go for performance mode because I like the steady, sturdy 60 frames per second. And usually the performance mode is like, 1440p or 1800p or whatever, and 60 frames per second. This game's performance mode is 1080p 60. And so when I loaded up performance mode, I was like, wow, this is a little fuzzy. And so I thought, well, maybe with this one, I'll have to settle for 4K 30 or whatever. So I switched it to the quality mode. Quality mode is still 60 frames per second. So I do not know why anyone would choose the performance mode with this game. Because the quality mode is still at 60 frames per second with maybe an occasional dip, not like a game-breaking dip, but just a slight dip when there's a lot of enemies on screen or a lot of explosions or whatever. But for the most part, it stays at 60, and I haven't had any problems with it playing it like that in quality mode. So, just letting you know. Best and worst Paul Dano film. I don't know that name. I'm currently playing The Evil Within 2. Did you like it? I haven't played The Evil Within 2. I have it, but I haven't played it because, as you guys know, I'm not, all that big on survival horror. I like horror shooters, but I'm not that big a fan of survival horror where you have a lot of limited resources and whatnot. I like running through spooky areas and killing stuff. But I don't like, having to ration my health and ration my ammo and all that kind of stuff. I imagine that I would probably like Resident Evil 8 more than stuff like The Evil Within 2. That's closer to what I would want from a survival horror game. But I still haven't even played it myself. I've watched 8th play it, but I just haven't gotten around to playing it. J.K. Rowling versus Lucas, who screws up more? J.K. Rowling. Lucas tends to mostly stay out of politics. Not Rowling. She likes to open her mouth. 7th, I just entered Christianity for the first time. I was formerly an atheist and before that a Catholic. I'm wondering if I should start at Genesis when reading the Bible. Would you agree? Well, yeah, there's a lot of events that take place through the Old Testament that ties in to what happens in the New Testament, and so you'll understand the events of the New Testament more if you've read through the Old Testament first. I will say this. Several sections of the Old Testament can be a challenging read because a lot of it is just, long treatises about dictating tribal policy and stuff like that. And this person begat this person who had this person, and then they married this person, begat this person. You have to get through a lot of that stuff to get to the meat in the Old Testament. But yeah, there are things that happen in the New Testament that will make more sense to you if you understand the context. Do you need to play the other Borderlands games before playing Tiny Tina? I mean, it helps a little bit because it lets you understand the setting, and it has classic characters from the Borderlands in it. But as long as you're not really caring about the story all that much, then no, you ought to be able to play it fine without having played any of the previous Borderlands games. Performance mode might be 120, but it's capped because your TV is 60 hertz. Well, that's possible. I haven't really looked up. I haven't looked up the settings to see what the difference is. As far as like looking the stats up to see what it runs in one versus the other, I could just tell that the performance mode was 1080p, and for me it looked 60 frames. And then I put it in quality mode, and everything was way sharper, but still at 60 frames. Paul Dano is the actor that plays the Riddler in the Batman. Oh, I haven't seen him. The only other movie I think I've seen him in was The Eternals, and I was not a fan of that movie. 7th, when will we see Naughty Dog's new IP? I don't know. I haven't really heard much of anything. Yeah, at one point I heard they were making some kind of a fantasy game with dragons in it, and now I don't really know what they're doing. Do you wish comics had a pipeline to animation like manga and anime? Not really, because right now our U.S. comics are mostly crap. The writing in them is terrible. The artwork, I don't like the artwork. near as much as, when I was collecting as a teenager. They're just, there's a reason that manga sells off the shelves, but the comic book industry is dying, and there's comic books, locally owned comic book stores going out of business left and right across this country. Debating about religion, not someone asking me just a simple question about Christianity when I am myself a Christian, but debating Christianity versus Islam, or debating Christianity versus Judaism and that kind of thing is prohibited. That's strike 2 for you, Shadowhood. Best and worst Bruce Willis movie. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. For me, best Bruce Willis movie would probably be the original Die Hard. And worst Bruce Willis movie would be everything that he's made over the last 10 years. Because he's made some crap. He's made some absolute crap. He's just phoning it in with these direct-to-video movies now. And Die Hard 4 and 5 were terrible. So, yeah. Absolutely horrible. What do you think Naughty Dog would rather focus on, Uncharted or The Last of Us? If it was up to Druckmann, there'd probably never be another Uncharted game, because he didn't create Uncharted, but he did create The Last of Us. That's his baby. Meanwhile, The Last of Us movie worldwide has broken the worldwide financial gross of the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which was a hit. And so while it's not some monster hit like Spider-Man No Way Home, it did do well enough financially to where if they wanted to make it into a franchise, they could. I haven't seen it yet. I'll watch it when it hits on demand. Do you agree with Review Tech USA about Xbox being the only game company preserving games? No, I think he's wrong on that, because they're not really preserving anything. They're cashing in on nostalgia to expand their subscription rate. They're using nostalgia as bait to pull people into Game Pass and to pad out Game Pass's library. That's the only reason they did it. And they've already stopped converting games for backwards compatibility. And the reason being is because they've already gone through everything that they're willing to spend money on. Because you have to remember, Xbox never had a tremendous amount of first-party offerings. So anything that they didn't make and publish themselves, they have to pay an additional licensing fee to put it on Game Pass, even if it was on previous systems. And that's one of the reasons why they're not simply going to put an OG Xbox and an Xbox 360 emulator into the operating system of the Xbox Series S or X, so that you could just, pop those discs in and install them and play them locally that way. They're not going to do that. They want to be able to use it as an enticement for Game Pass, but at the same time, they're not going to do full backwards compatibility because it would cost them too much. And it's going to be the same thing when Sony releases whatever they're coming up with, because they're not going to want to. They're certainly not going to want to pay those licensing fees either. So you'll mostly see old first-party stuff with a handful of second and third-party games, and that's it. And unless you're preserving everything, you're not really preserving shit. That's my opinion on it. When do you think we'll see an update on God of War Ragnarok? Well, there was a person that works on the Sony Santa Monica. She's like a social media manager or whatever, handles one of their forums or something. And she reiterated, just like in the last week or so, that Ragnarok would come out this year. She didn't give a date, but she did say it would come out this year. So we'll see. I did not find Die Hard 4 to be a good movie, no. I haven't seen Druckmann say anything about the Uncharted movie, so I would not be aware of how much credit he did or didn't take for it. I don't follow him. 7, thoughts on people who say having ROMs is the same as having a game collection? No, it's not. Because you have to do a lot in respect of playing a ROM, whether you're playing it on like a clone system or playing it from a PC emulator or whatever, for the game to play and feel the same as it did playing it on a CRT on a native console. Because it can mess with the reaction time. It can mess with the lag, the input lag, just a lot of different things. And so, one of the things that I've heard are people. I've seen people that haven't played like an NES game in 30 years. They sit down and they play a ROM of it on an emulator. And they're like, I used to love this game. Why does it feel so bad now? Well, that's why. Because the reaction times are different. And so it makes everything feel different when you're playing it. It's subtle, but it's there. Enough to where, something that you used to have muscle memory for, and you could play through that game with barely even thinking about it because you had mastered it so well. You try to play it on an emulator, and unless you've got things very finely tuned, it don't feel the same. When's the last time you and Review Tech talked? Was it true that he invited you to his channel a long time ago? Well, I mean, I was on a live stream of his with Solid Rev and some other people a few weeks ago. It was me and Review Tech and Solid Rev and Black Bond and I think maybe one other person. I can't remember now. But it was definitely me, Rev, Black Bond, and Review Tech. And we talked for a couple of hours, I think. 1 or 2 hours. It was a good show. But yeah, back around 2012 or 2013, I think, somewhere around in there, it was when I was still considered fairly popular in the community. I was getting 40 and 50,000 views on reviews and things of that nature. Review Tech interviewed me about console wars and about the culture and of console wars and the history of it and all these different things. It was about an hour-long interview, and then a couple of days later he came back and he said, well, got some bad news. It didn't record any of the audio. And he never did offer to redo it, and I got kind of pissed at him. And so then he and I weren't talking for a while, because he got pissed back at me for getting pissed at him. And so me and him, we eventually buried the hatchet. And then when he did this old school thing, he invited me to come along. And so that was cool. Oh, MLD was on there. It was me, Review Tech, MLD, Solid Rev, and Black Bond. Guys are asking questions faster than I can get to them. Hang on a second. Let me scroll up a little bit. I want Naughty Dog to abandon Uncharted and The Last of Us. I want something new. That would be nice, but, I think Uncharted should have stopped at 3. I don't think 4 should have been made at all. But if it was going to be made, I would have preferred to play the whatever version that Amy Hennig was working on that got scrapped. Horizon 2's main minigame is kind of fun. That being said, what's your favorite minigame from a video game? Oh, Lord. I don't think I've ever really been too keen on minigames, to tell you the truth. I seem to recall enjoying a minigame or two in the original Kingdom Hearts, but I couldn't tell you which ones it was. Would you like to do a video with Adam Sessler if he reached out to you? Hell no. Have you ever read The Sandman by Neil Gaiman? Yes. I just read it and it's nice so far. They're making that into a series. I don't know how it's going to be. Are you excited for the Kenobi show? I am hesitant about the Kenobi show. I don't know how that's going to turn out. We'll see. I ought to be able to answer that once I've seen the first episode. People are going to be mad when Spartacus isn't like Game Pass, even though it likely isn't meant to be like Game Pass. Probably so. I mean, looking at what has leaked about this Spartacus thing, to me it sounds more like Nintendo's pay service than it does Game Pass. Really. It sounds closer to Nintendo's thing. And I mean, considering that in Japan, Nintendo is a much bigger competitor for Sony than Microsoft could ever hope to be, maybe that's what they're looking at. I don't really know. And plus, we're still going on rumors at this point, so we're not going to know for sure until Sony comes out and says something. But I do guarantee you this, at least for now, you're not going to see day one first-party releases on whatever this service is, like you will on Game Pass, because Sony doesn't have to do that. Sony are still selling millions of copies of games. Now, I would imagine that it's probably going to launch with some first-party stuff for PS5 on it already. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Miles Morales, Demon's Souls, and Ratchet & Clank were on there, because those are all basically year-old games. I suspect that they're going to release first-party games, and then it'll come, and then a year later after it comes out, it'll hit their version of Game Pass, and it'll hit, or their online service, and it'll hit PC on Steam. That's what I suspect. And for some people, that day one thing is their main drive for Game Pass. But think about it. How many day one games have you really had since the new consoles launched on Game Pass? You've had Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance, which was a flop. You had Forza Horizon 5. Flight Simulator had already been out for a year on PC, but it did get it day one to when it released on console, so it kind of counts. And then you had Halo Infinite. That's it as far as first-party stuff. The Medium doesn't count, even though it was a day one in some respects, because of the fact that it was not a first-party release, and it went multi-plat 6 months after it came out. The Ascent is on PlayStation Network now. Microsoft just hasn't really released that many first-party games since the Series X came out, so you're not really getting a whole lot. And so far, if the day one releases is what you were excited about, so far you haven't really gotten a whole lot for your $14.99. I'll tell you right now what Game Pass is for me. Game Pass for me is a way to play all the indie games that I wanted to play without actually having to buy them all. That's all it is for me. Yeah, that's primarily what I use Game Pass for, is playing indie games that I didn't actually want to pay full money for on PSN. And that's most of what is on Game Pass. If you go through the Game Pass library, you've got old first-party stuff. You've got the EA stuff. You've got a couple of third parties from Namco Bandai and a couple others. And then everything else, indie games. A huge chunk of its library is indie games. Y'all are wondering what that is. It says all, and then above it, Descendants. This tattoo right here of the Milo logo was my very first tattoo I ever got. And then I got this one underneath it, and he stretched it for some reason when he made it, so it looks all kind of weird. I guess he did it to try to make it fit the length of the Milo, but it made the logo look kind of funky, and the color didn't stick with it the way it should. The color is faded, but part of the reason that the color is faded is because I've gained a lot of weight since I got this tattoo. And so when you gain weight, it stretches the pores out, and that dilutes the pigment. And so what used to be red is now pink. And it's the same thing with this tattoo. You know, these colors used to be really vibrant as far as the skulls and everything. It almost looked neon when I first got it. But then I gained a bunch of weight, and it stretched all that out, and so now you don't see as much of the color as you used to, is what it is. Anyway, let's see here. Do you think retro game prices will pop or deflate in the future? It doesn't seem that way. It doesn't seem that way. Everything just seems to keep going up. Lately, what I've been wanting to do, my main focus for years has been the NES library. There's still a ton of commons and uncommons that I don't have for that system. But lately, I've really been wanting to focus on my Saturn library because it's pathetically small. I only have like 18 games for Saturn. I mean, almost all the games that I do have for Saturn, except for one or two, are super expensive games like Burning Rangers, Panzer Dragoon Saga, Dragon Force, Magic Knight Ray Earth, Albert Odyssey, big money games. But, and that's what most of what I have for Saturn is. But, there's a lot of other games that I still would like to have. I recently picked up Virtua Fighter 2 for it. And with Saturn, I don't care about whether I have the manual and the case, because the cases suck anyway. The Saturn game cases are some of the worst cases ever made, so I don't care if I have those or not. I make my own cases with a laser printer that I've got sitting over here, a color laser printer, and I just, take empty jewel boxes, make me a custom label, slap that in there, and then put it on the shelf. They look really nice. And I've done that with all of them that I have so far. But I picked up Virtua Fighter 2 disc only for like $8. And that's what I'm going to start doing, is like once or twice a month, I'm going to, probably buy an NES game and a Saturn game. NES game, Saturn game, and slowly start to build my Saturn back up. Because at some point in the second half of this year, I am supposed to be getting my Polymega. And when I get my Polymega, it comes Saturn compatible out of the box. So I'll be able to play all my Saturn games right here. It's going to sit right there under my monitor. And I'll be able to stream Saturn games for you guys, along with a bunch of other stuff. It's going to take me forever to put all of my retro games that's compatible with Polymega on that system. But another nice thing about it is its additional storage doesn't just have to be limited to shelling out for a 1 terabyte SSD or whatever. It'll also run on micro SD. So I could get like a 512 megabyte micro SD card, and that would hold a ton of my library without ever having to get an SSD. Because NES games, they're only a few K a piece. They're not even a meg in size. I could probably fit most of my NES library on a micro SD, and it would only take up like 1 or 2 megs out of 512. So I'm excited about that. You know, I hope they actually follow through this time and don't screw me like what happened last time. This is the last chance that I'm giving them. They have my money. It's supposed to ship sometime in the second half of 2022. We'll see. Meanwhile, every year when I get my bonus, the majority of my bonus goes towards bills to make things more affordable for me, and then I take a chunk of it and I get whatever 8th wants, and I get one thing for me. So the one thing for me was the Poly Mega, and then replacing the RAM and upgrading the video card. But again, some of y'all's money went to the camera, but some of y'all's money that you donated went towards that. And 8th, he only wanted one thing, but it was an expensive thing. But he got it. And that is Valve's VR helmet. The Edge or whatever it's called. So, 8th now has, without getting into the super high-end commercial, the super high-end stuff that businesses and whatnot, science labs and whatnot use, he's got pretty much the best VR helmet for, commercial end users that you can get. And he's loving it. The one complaint that he's had is that it's heavier because it doesn't use what the PlayStation VR does. The PlayStation VR basically counteracts the weight of it by having a plate that sits on top of your forehead, and then the helmet part of it hangs off of that, whereas all the other ones strap over like this and around, and so you feel the weight of it on your face more. And it also gets hot in there, he said, whereas the new PSVR, the VR2 that supposed to come out this year, it has an actual venting system so that it doesn't get hot inside the helmet and the lenses don't fog up. So that's kind of a cool feature. Let's see here. What are you going to do when games go all digital? I don't know. I don't know. I know it's coming, but I don't know. Have you ever debated Blackbuster Critic? No, we've never had a debate. Seventh, would you ever take a cold shower challenge? Like put the water on the coldest setting and try to last a few minutes. I tried it and I hyperventilated. I don't have to try that challenge because that happens to me whenever the hot water heater runs out of hot water. And I'm not done with my shower yet. So I have to finish my shower in freezing cold water. Because 8th takes up a lot of the hot water when he takes his shower. And he always takes his first. And so then I go in there and I have hot water for like 3 minutes and then I freeze my fat ass off. Let's see. What's a good Pokemon monster collecting clone? I wouldn't know because I hate Pokemon. Pokemon is not my thing. Don't care for it. I own some Pokemon games because they're first-party exclusives for Nintendo, and so I collect them, but I don't really play them. 8th never got into Pokemon either, which I'm kind of thankful for because that saved me some money when he was younger. But he never really showed a whole lot of interest in Pokemon. Seventh, would you agree that the gaming media seems to be overly biased towards Xbox these days? If so, I don't think so. I think there's specific sites that are, but then again, there's also sites that often seem to show a little bit more of a bias towards Sony. And this is one of the reasons why I don't pay attention to a lot of the big gaming media. I mean, I really like Digital Foundry, but there's been some things that John Lineman, or whatever his name is, has said that had a kind of a pro Sony stance that really shouldn't have been a pro Sony stance. You know, they overlooked a lot of stuff when they covered Gran Turismo 7, for example. I haven't bought Gran Turismo 7. I haven't bought a Gran Turismo since Gran Turismo 5 on the PS3. In my opinion, that is when Sony started or Polyphony Digital started being a little kind of half-assed with Gran Turismo, because when Gran Turismo 5 came out, several of its tracks were just rehashes from GT4. A whole ton of cars were rehashes from GT4 and didn't even have a cockpit mode. And of course, it started having microtransactions and whatnot on down the line, and way more so with Gran Turismo Sport. I didn't even bother with Gran Turismo Sport. So when Gran Turismo 7 came out, and I'm seeing some tracks that don't look next gen, there's some tracks that do and some tracks that don't, and I'm seeing cars where some of them look next gen and some of them don't, I knew exactly what had happened. And then I come and see all these microtransactions, and then what does Sony do? They turn around and make it even harder to earn cars on your own. So now they're having to backtrack on that because everyone, not the media, but just everyday gamers on Twitter and whatnot, chewed their ass for it. I just question this: why is it that Turn 10 can put out a new Forza game every 2 years, but it takes Polyphony Digital twice as long, with generally less content and more rehashed content from the previous game? Why is that? That's why I don't really support Gran Turismo anymore. And I never was a big supporter of it to begin with, because I've never been a big fan of sim racers. I like stuff like Burnout Paradise. That's my thing. Yeah, I would shit myself if Burnout Paradise 2 was announced. I would literally shit myself in excitement. There has not been a racing game to come out since Burnout Paradise 2 that scratches my racing itch the way Burnout Paradise did. The closest thing that's been to it was the Forza Horizon series, but it doesn't quite get there because Forza Horizons still tries to mix a little bit of arcade with a little bit of sim control, and I don't like it. I want a racing game that feels like Burnout Paradise and has the content and the sense of humor of Burnout Paradise. Most of the sense of humor in the Forza Horizon series is pure cringe. Absolute cringe. Let's see here. My favorite mini game in a video game might be the Chow or Ka, or however it was pronounced, Chow Garden from Sonic Adventure 2. As I recall, you had them in Sonic Adventure 1 too. I never really got into collecting them or raising them or whatever that much. Let's see here. Thoughts on the rumors of a PS5 Pro in 2023? They're getting ready to launch PSVR 2 this year. The new hardware is barely a year old. I don't know. If they were going to do it, I think I would expect to see it in 2024 maybe, but not 2023. We'll see though. We'll see. Could be. Uncharted, it could be that the PS5 Pro has had alterations to it and alongside increased power to where they wouldn't run into the manufacturing issues that they've had during the COOF. I don't know. We'll see. Do you sometimes get the itis after eating? After a big meal, I fall straight to sleep. I have had that happen from time to time. I have had that happen from time to time. They say it's because when your stomach expands from having eaten too much, additional blood from your system has to be routed to your stomach to help digest the too much food that you ate that caused your stomach to expand. And so that's more blood going to the stomach, less blood going to the brain. So your body compensates by making you drowsy and puts you to sleep so it can devote more time to the amount of too much food that you ate. That's how it was explained to me. I don't know if that's accurate or not. No, neither of me nor Eighth have played Gran Turismo 7. I have seen it played. Haven't played it ourselves because I didn't buy it. The medium isn't on Game Pass anymore. I thought it still was. Maybe it's been removed since the last time I was on there. Didn't the Ascent was a timed indie exclusive. Nice tattoo. Can we see it better if that's okay? Which one? The left one? Goes all the way up to the shoulder. I don't know if you can see it. But it's a bunch of skulls, and there's a hand ripping the jaw off of one of the skulls, and the hand has the Roman numeral 7th on it. It's Roman numeral 7. Did those tattoos hurt? The one that hurt the worst is the one on my back, which is a depiction of the Archangel Michael slaying the devil. And it has an unfurled scroll underneath it that says, "Vengeance is mine." And that one hurt me the worst. Because that one was right on my spine. And let me tell you something. When you get a tattoo on your back, every time it goes across the spine, it not only hurts there, it hurts in other parts of your body because your spine is connected to nerves all through your body, and it will send that pain all over your body. So I was sitting there, and the dude was drilling on my back, and he had hit a certain spot, and I'd feel a stabbing pain in my stomach. Or I'd feel a stabbing pain at the bottom of my foot. It was the weirdest experience. And it took 3 hours to do the one on my back. It took 4 hours to do this big one on my arm. In 2 sessions. The first session basically inked it, and then the second session was coloring and shading. And this one was the last one that I ever got done. I haven't had any other ones done since that. And I got this one done in 2010 or 11. I got the one on my back done in 2009 when I divorced my wife. It's like I signed the papers, divorce is finalized. I went to the tattoo parlor and I got that tattoo on my back. Vengeance is mine. Indeed. It was a very cathartic experience. 7th. Have you watched the Blade Runner Black Lotus series? No. Did you see Fat Gamer's new video? No. When do you think the Nintendo Switch 2 will come out? Should have come out already. He should try a pulley system with the index. They're not going to allow us to do that. We rent this house. We don't own it, remember? Thoughts on Zelda Twilight Princess? I was not a fan. From Nancy, a 7thCast. Yes, a 7thCast. Poor 7th. Hey, Nancy, I've been meaning to ask you. You posted footage of you playing that game, that Shinobi type game, Ganryu 2 or however it's pronounced. I went to buy that on PlayStation Network, and it's not there. I mean, you can pull it up, but you can't buy it. Did you record your footage on something else? Are you playing it on Xbox or something? I'm wondering why it's not available on PSN yet. It's kind of irritating me. Hi, Master Chief. Do you think Rockstar... What? Do you think Rockstar would ever bring back Midnight Club? Nah, it's dead. I loved Burnout Revenge the most. For me, it was Paradise. I loved the open world map. I loved all the DLC they put out for it. I loved griefing other people. Playing it online, and they're trying to earn a trophy, and I just come out of nowhere and smack them off the road. I loved griefing people in Burnout Paradise. It was a lot of fun. Me and my friends would play it, and I'd troll my friends incessantly. I love arcade racing games with items. Mario Kart, Mod Nation, Sonic All-Stars, things like... I was not a fan of Mod Nation. If those of you who've watched me for a long time know, the performance on it was just horrible. That being said, the sequel on Vita is vastly superior to the PS3 game. Just saying. No, I haven't played Crash Team Racing Remastered. I'm not a huge fan of kart racing. 8th is a bigger fan of that stuff than I am. Now, if they were to come out with a Mario Kart racer, but it was like Burnout Paradise where it was on an open world map, I would eat that shit up. You bought it on PSN. Well, it's no longer available to buy on PSN, Nancy, because I went to try to buy it yesterday, and the only option that you have is to add it to your wish list or to follow it. There's no link to purchase it. So something happened there. I don't know what. Come on, Ballsack. Let's avoid the partisan politics stuff, please. Thank you. I don't know what my next guitar project is going to be. I was thinking this summer, maybe. I'm not making any promises here, but I was thinking of doing my own rendition of the Star Spangled Banner for the 4th of July. No promises, but it was a thought that crossed my mind. It's something that I used to do on stage years ago. I mean, obviously, I do things a lot differently than the stream of consciousness version that is the Jimi Hendrix national anthem. The way I do it is different. As opposed to, when Jimi Hendrix did it, it's basically like he was playing a solo, like he turned the national anthem into a solo. I do it as a song. So I have, percussions and bass and backing guitar tracks and multiple leads. So that's the way that I do it. And I'm thinking of like finally recording and mixing that down and putting it out there. But I haven't made up my mind yet. We'll see. Gran Turismo versus Need for Speed, which is better? Well, I like Need for Speed because it's more arcadey. Again, I'm not big into sim racers. Did you ever play SOCOM Confrontation on PS3? No, I did not. I think I have SOCOM 4 on PS3, but I've never played it. I think Diddy Kong Racing would fit that open world idea you have. That or Kirby Air Ride, since that was an open city trial mode. Yeah, maybe. That being said, has anyone played that new Kirby game that came out this week? Uh, I'd like to pick that up for Switch. I just haven't gotten around to it. I can't even tell you the last time I turned my Switch on. 8th plays Switch way more than I do. Do you think they'll make a Sonic All-Star Racing 2? They ought to. Wow, I just clicked on Ganryu 2 from my paid orders, and it puts me on a not available page. Yeah, it looks like they pulled the game from PSN, Nancy. I don't know why, and I really wanted to play it. I don't know what happened there. Maybe check their Twitter. If the developer has a Twitter account, maybe check their Twitter and see if they've made a statement about it. I sense Ballsack Gaming is a troll. Time to bust out the troll spray. Ballsack is Ballsack. He's been that way for years. What did you give the Batman out of 7? I gave it a 5.5. And the reason being is because it's most of the Catwoman subplot is absolutely unnecessary to the overall story of the film. And so they could have made this movie a 2.5-hour movie by cutting all that, you know, where's my girlfriend? Oh, where's my girlfriend stuff? Then they find the girlfriend dead in the trunk, and then in the next scene, she's playing tonsil hockey with Batman. So she couldn't have been that upset over her girlfriend getting murdered because she's sucking face with the Dark Knight in the next scene. So they could have just cut that out, and instead of doing all that stupid Catwoman subplot of, you know, finding out what happened to her dead girlfriend, they could have included the Batman interviewing the Joker scene in the film, and the film would have still ended up being 20 to 30 minutes shorter. So I gave it a 5.5. It still gives you the option to download it, Nancy, because you've purchased a license for it. But now they're just preventing anyone else from purchasing it. When I get off here, I might go on Xbox and see if Xbox has it for sale. And here's the other thing. The other Neo Geo game that came out around the same time, Androdunos 2 or whatever, it's still on PSN. But not Ganryu 2. Have you played Black Wind on PS5? It's a twin-stick mech shooter. No, I have not played that. I have not played that one. Yeah, I think Transformed was recently given away free on PSN. Dizzy. Sonic versus Crash, which one's better? Do you mean Sonic Racing versus Crash Racing, or do you mean Sonic games versus Crash games? Because, you know, I was never a tremendous fan of Crash Bandicoot to begin with. I liked the first 3 games okay, but starting with the PS2 era, I haven't liked anything that's been released. But then again, it's kind of the same thing with Sonic. I adored Sonic 1, 2, and 3. I loved Sonic CD. Didn't care for Knuckles Chaotix. Didn't really care for Sonic and Knuckles. Sonic Adventure I liked. Sonic Adventure 2 I really liked. But just about everything after that I've not really cared that much for. I wasn't even a huge fan of Sonic Mania because I felt like they made the levels too big. There's too much in each level, too many branching paths. But overall, I'd still say Sonic just because of how much I loved the first 3 games and Sonic CD and Sonic Adventure. Oh, shoot. I completely missed it. Y'all didn't warn me this time. Oh, wow. I switched to 4K, so now it's tiny and in the wrong place. hours remaining. Actually, an hour and a half remaining now because I was so late. Oh, my hair growing back in. See that? Need to shave my head again. Hair's growing back in. Gotta shave my head. Do you think a Crash and Sonic crossover could work? Well, if they did it with Sonic and Mario, why not? How could a Sonic and Crash collab work? Sonic is too fast. Well, again, you know, they had a successful Mario and Sonic series. You could do it something like that. Why don't they do Mario and Sonic and Crash at the Olympic Games? How about that? Are you willing to give the update to Cyberpunk a chance? Sure, but there's not a whole lot of point. I already beat the game. I didn't plat it, but I beat it. So I'm not as inclined to do that, you see. Let me close that out. Okay, and I can close that out. I don't need that neither. There we go. That works. That works for me. That works for me. But I am, I've been wanting that Polymega since it was first announced. I think when it was first announced, they were calling it Retro Blocks, and it turned out there was already something called Retro Blocks, so they had to change the name of it. They changed it to Polymega, but I've wanted that thing since it was first announced, and it showed what it could do, because that solved so many problems for me, so many problems. But yeah, I can hook that sucker up and route it over to this TV I got sitting right here. And I can stream you guys, and you can see me sitting there playing my game. Game. And watch me live. And I can play all the NES games. And I can do some of that with this little Chinese thing that I have now. That I imported over here. But it won't do Saturn. The only thing I don't like about the Polymega is that it doesn't support Dreamcast. But that doesn't surprise me, because the Dreamcast has this funky proprietary disc format, this GD-ROM format that, modern disc drives don't read. So it doesn't surprise me that there's not an option for that. Maybe they could come out with something. I don't know. Because they just announced an additional module so that the Polymega can also play it can play N64 games. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm not so looking forward to getting that N64 module, though, because I'm not a fan of the N64. If they could put it in the Polymega to where all N64 games had twin stick support, then I'd love the N64. But of course they can't do that. It's too much work. That was my biggest complaint with the N64, was the same complaint really that I had with a lot of the games on Dreamcast. Only one stick. Of course, only having one stick didn't affect Soul Calibur or a lot of other games at all on the Dreamcast. But some of the games on Dreamcast, you needed that second stick. Cannon Spike, anyone? Oh, God, you really needed a second stick with that game. Anyway. Oh, and Expendable. Holy shit, Expendable needed twin stick support. That game would have played so much better with twin sticks. I've never even played the original PlayStation version, so I don't know if the PlayStation version of Expendables or Expendable, I should say, supports the DualShock or not. I don't know. They gave away Team Sonic Racing, not Transform. My bad. I thought they had also given away Transformed recently, but I could be wrong. Do you think a Crash and Sonic crossover... I already answered that. Which do you prefer, Uncharted or Tomb Raider? Uncharted, really, because I like the gunplay. I know the new Tomb Raiders have gunplay too, but they at least the first one really focused a lot on archery, and I just don't like archery in video games. I don't like it in Horizon. I don't like it in Tomb Raider. And with the third Tomb Raider game, they almost went like Metal Gear Solid with it. There's a lot of stealth shit. I don't like stealth games either. And of course, they've put a couple of stealth areas in Uncharted, and I didn't like it when they did it in Uncharted. Check their Twitter. I don't know what's going on with Ganryu 2, but the release date has been changed to April 22nd. I'm so confused. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. Sega should just stick to 2D Sonic games. They didn't screw up as bad when it's 2D. Well, I'm not going to disagree with you on that one. Chilling with Seventh Night is a welcome surprise. Hey, Classic Krusty, what's going on, man? What's going on? You guys remember when The Truth Setting You Free used to do his own theme songs to all of his different video series? And one of the ones that he did for like regular gaming news was just called What's Going On? And his theme song was like, What's going on? Oh, what the fuck's going on? I forgot what was on YouTube, and then I remembered there's always shit on YouTube, baby. You're right. Although lately, I need to find some new channels to watch. Because, I'm subscribed to over 1,000 channels, and the stuff that shows up in my recommended feed, a lot of it I don't even watch nowadays. People, I've kind of lost interest in console war stuff, so I don't really watch that stuff so much anymore. And some other guys that I used to watch on the regular have changed their content style over the years, and I don't care so much for what their new content is like. I mean, that's one thing about me, aside from the fact that I don't really do the console war thing so much anymore. All the other content is the same content that I've been doing for years. I generally do my reviews the same way. I've been doing the 7thCast for 5 or 6 years. Every now and again, I'll try a little something new, but then nobody watches it, and so I get rid of it. Seventh, I was playing Simpson Hit and Run. It was a welcome surprise. Yeah, there's 2 different Simpsons games from that era that are good. One of them is Hit and Run, and the other one is... I get the 2 of them confused. One of them is Simpsons, but it's Grand Theft Auto. And then the other one is Simpsons, but it's Crazy Taxi. And both of them are good. But I get them confused as far as which one is called what. Never play the Simpsons wrestling game, though. Terrible. These 2 games that were on PS2 and Xbox, they were the first time that there was a good Simpsons game outside of Konami's Simpsons beat 'em up in the arcades. That Simpsons game that came out in 2008, it was so-so. It was okay. But by then, who gave a crap about the Simpsons anyway? I stopped watching the Simpsons like 20 years ago. Nancy. I'm subbed to 5 channels with podcasts. I'm down to 5 because the content creators this gen are boring. Well, there's a lot of people that say that I'm boring because I don't stream gameplay. I just sit and talk. You know. And a lot of times I end up talking about the same things because you guys ask the same kinds of questions. And that's why I started doing a couple of little topics at the beginning of it each time, so that, you know, I know there's 2 new things that I end up talking about every night that I do it. How long did you say it took 8th to plat Elden Ring? His first attempt to plat Elden Ring took him 75 total hours of gameplay. Then he went and bought it on Steam, and he 100%ed it on Steam in 25 hours. He told me that he feels he could get it down to around 15 if he really pushed himself. That's 8th for you. I don't know what his current speed run is. The last time I think he told me his fastest just beat the game run was 2.5 hours. The Wisps is what's killing Sonic games. They're milking it in every Sonic game nowadays. I haven't really paid much of attention to the most recent ones. I'm subscribed to a channel called Resonant Arc. They do podcasts where they talk about RPG plots in great detail. I can see Road Rage is the Crazy Taxi one, and Hit and Run is GTA. Okay. I get those 2 names mixed up because I think about it, and, you know, Road Rage often leads to hit and runs. So I easily get confused on which one is which. Thoughts on Kevin Smith? Used to like him, now not so much. Do you watch Family Guy? I haven't watched Family Guy on a regular basis in a while. Hey, 7th, been watching Vox Machina, very interesting. Like I said, it's a good show. And it doesn't, you know, it has woke stuff in it, but it's not a woke show. You know, there's a lot of stuff that that the woke crowd wouldn't care for in that show, so it kind of gives them a little bit of something, gives us a lot of something else. So, when games are launching, there's good reviews and tech stuff and retrospectives and other topics as well. I was watching H.C. Bailey's Chrono. 7th, did you hear about Triple H? Oh, announcing that he wasn't going to be wrestling anymore? Well, I mean, the last time he did wrestle, he looked pretty past his prime, and then he ended up like having a heart attack outside the ring. So yeah, I'd say it's about time. Thoughts on Scott Hall's death? Man, when you get up to be around in that 60-year-old range, sometimes if you fall and you break your hip, broken hip is the same as a death sentence. Because even if you get to the hospital quick and get it repaired, infections can set in so easy, and the next thing you know, you're gone. I've seen it happen to elderly people time and time again. But nowadays, you know, one of the leading causes of death when you go in to have any kind of surgery, it's not from the surgery going wrong or anything. It's from succumbing to an infection after the surgery's done. You have to be very careful not to let an infection set in. And it is so easy, especially in a hospital, because a hospital is full of germs everywhere. That's why they sanitize things so much in there. You know, the hospital is the only place you can really go safely to get surgery anyway, but you're also walking into a hotbed of germs. So, you know, I'm hoping that I'm never in any kind of position, like if it turned out, for example, that all of these problems that I'm having is because I've got gallstones and they would want to remove my gallbladder, I'd be scared to death to go to the hospital and get that done. not because of complications of surgery, but out of fear that I'd end up catching an infection and die from an infection in the hospital. And, gallbladder surgery nowadays can be done endoscopically. They cut you here, and then they cut you over here, and instead of having this big, wide open incision, they use these tools to go into these tiny little cuts they put in, and they use cameras to do it. That's how it's done nowadays to increase your recovery time and reduce pain during recovery. They put little incisions instead of a big one. But that's still an open wound, and if they haven't properly sanitized their tools, if somebody didn't wash their hands properly, there's dozens of different things that can lead to germs getting into that wound. And if they don't catch it in time, you're going to be watching the next football game with the good Lord above. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe with somebody else. But who's worse, Kevin Smith or Adam Sessler? Sessler, by far. I think Kevin's big thing is he's just kind of clueless. He doesn't think things through. Supposedly someone has a 40-minute Elden Ring record. Actually, they had a 35. I think that someone actually got it down to 32 or 28 minutes, and then that patch came out and changed everything to where they couldn't use that method anymore. AEW or WWE, I don't watch either one. 7th, I love the Call of Cthulhu stuff. That stuff is dark and interesting. There's a game you might want to try, short round, if you have a PS4 or a PS5, called The Sinking City. It's heavily Lovecraft inspired, and right now you can get it on PlayStation Network for, I think, $7.50. I pray for my mom. She's having back surgery in a few weeks. Ooh. Yeah, that's a risky one. That's a risky one. Now here's hoping the good Lord watches over your mom. Sorry to hear that, but keep your chin up. Stay positive for her, even if you're scared to death. If you're scared to death, don't let her know that you're scared to death, because if you're scared to death, it'll make her scared to death, and that'll make the whole experience worse for her. So be strong for your mom. Keep a stiff upper lip. Don't let her know that you're worried about it or even nervous about it. How come these wrestlers who get injured and require surgery don't ever drop? What do you mean? Oh, well, because there's a greater risk of infection with a hip surgery than there are with like a broken arm or whatever. It's a much larger incision, a lot of wide open wound thing. Can't really be done laparoscopically. It's a lot different than just getting your shoulder dislocated or your arm broke or what have you. Oh my God, Sinking City is so underrated. I beat it 2 weeks ago. Very good game. I was thinking about picking it up since it was just $7.50, but before I did that, I'd want to see if there's a physical edition out there. I sent you a picture of that disc-only copy of Virtua Fighter 2 I picked up for Saturn, Nancy. Got it for $8. $8. I want to get the Virtua Fighter remix, which had it was Virtua Fighter, but the models were smoothed and improved graphically. It came out like the year after the Saturn came out, and if you already owned a Saturn, all you had to do was mail in for it, and they'd send it to you for free. And so I want to pick that one up too, instead of just the vanilla version of Virtua Fighter that came with the launch edition Saturn. Yes, Scott Hall was a former wrestler. He was a part of the NWO. He was in a tag team called the Outsiders with Kevin Nash. And when he was in the WWF, he was known as Razor Ramon. I didn't think Sonic Forces was that bad. I have it for free on PSN. I've played one level of it, and that was all I cared to play. Sinking City and Call of Cthulhu were okay. We have Call of Cthulhu, but we don't have Sinking City. But I'd love to get one final H.P. Lovecraft-inspired game as a send-off that's actually a cut above. You know what would be interesting is if they did if they figured out a way that wasn't like an Until Dawn style point-and-click adventure game to make a video game around the Reanimator. That would be interesting. I mean, if you want to get an idea of how bad hip surgery can be, Roddy Piper, years before he passed, he had his hip replaced with a steel joint. And when he was in the NWO, they were or not in the NWO. When he was in WCW, the NWO were mocking him for it. And at one point, they had him in the ring, and they pulled his kilt up so that you could see the size of the scar he had on his hip. And that ought to show you how serious hip surgery can be. Big ass scar. I haven't liked a lot of the newer Sonic stuff. I didn't care for Sonic Boom. I didn't care for Sonic Heroes. I didn't care for the one that we just mentioned, the most recent one. I didn't care for the one that was kind of like a Sonic take on Mario Galaxy, where you were warping around and whatnot. The one that came out in the Wii U, I have it. I didn't care for it. Sonic just isn't what it once was for me. Is what it is. 8th wants to see the new movie, the sequel coming out. I mean, we went to see the first one at the theater, and it was mainly because we wanted to go to the movies, but there was nothing that we wanted to watch. And so we just decided, well, let's just go see Sonic, and we ended up having a lot of fun with it. Again, I didn't like Sonic Mania as much because I felt the levels were too big and had too many alternate branching paths. So you could end up wandering around in there for 15-20 minutes before you actually found your way out of it. They overcomplicated it too much. Yeah, Sonic Lost World. I didn't like Sonic Lost World at all. I didn't like Sonic 4 either. That was also a digital title. I didn't like it. Sonic Generations was okay. Sonic Generations wasn't too bad. I never finished it. I got kind of bored and moved to something else. But I still have it. I have it for PS3. It's sitting on my shelf right now. Oh, don't get me wrong. You know, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with Sonic Mania. I mean, it still plays like a classic Sonic game, and it still feels like a classic Sonic game, but the levels are too complicated. Like Nancy just said, it's kind of like Sonic CD. You know, Sonic CD had multiple different versions of each level depending on what point in time you were in. This game, it's just that every level has like a bazillion branching paths that you can go through to look for this and to look for that. And so it makes just getting through a level, if you don't care about finding all this other stuff and you just want to play through the game, it becomes unnecessarily a pain in the ass. I would much rather play through Sonic 1, 2, or 3 again than play through Sonic Mania, simply because Sonic Mania just... it's a lot of work. You can very easily get stuck in a loop where you never actually make it to the end of the level because you just keep picking the wrong direction to go. It's like every level is a maze. And I just don't care for that. I don't care for it at all. I think I'm more into the Mega Man games than Sonic for retro. Yeah, I think overall Mega Man games have aged better. Normally, if you buy a Mega Man game, you're getting quality. And, you know, Mega Man 11, I didn't particularly care for it, but I didn't hate it either. It's not too bad. I still love Mega Man 1, 2, and 3. Not as much 4, 5, and 6, although I do own them. I want to get Mega Man 7 on the SNES, but that sucker is expensive. I have Mega Man 8 on PlayStation, but originally I had it on Saturn, and I'd like to have it on Saturn again, but again, on Saturn, super expensive. On PlayStation, not super expensive at all. I think the Saturn version actually looks better and plays better than the PlayStation version, but beggars can't be choosers. Shadow Deist, I'm talking about when you start at Mega Man 1 and you play up through Mega Man 11, there's not that much of a dip in quality from Mega Man 1 to Mega Man 11. When you start playing at Sonic 1 and you end at Sonic Mania, there's a lot of games between Sonic 1 and Sonic Mania that ain't worth playing. That's what I'm saying. As a series, Mega Man's existing games have aged better than the Sonic games have. I still think Mega Man could work as a 3D experience if it was done right. Some of those 3D games, man, are crap. Especially the ones that were made for PS2. Those games are terrible. I never really got into Mega Man Legends. Mega Man Legends wasn't my thing. Oh. If they make a Mega Man X9, they should soft reboot the series. Well, I mean, story-wise, story's never been like a super big thing with Mega Man anyway. Not really. Did you get the regular edition of Ghostwire? Yeah, I didn't get the special edition. I just got the regular plain Jane edition, and they're telling me I gotta wait 2 weeks for them to get more stock. I'd like to see Capcom revive Mega Man Legends 3. Well, you never know. Is Mega Man 11 worth a buy? 8th likes it. 8th recently started getting into Mega Man, so I bought him the Mega Man Collection series. I I haven't bought him Series 2 yet, but I bought him the first one. And then he asked for Mega Man 11 because he wanted to compare and contrast. And there were some things he liked about it and a couple of things that he didn't, because he felt some of the mechanics actually made the game easier compared to the previous games. But he said it's just as far as like basic Mega Man gameplay, he didn't have any complaints with it. Imagine if Capcom went through with that first-person Mega Man game they canceled. I didn't know about them actually making one. I knew there was a guy out there that just made one himself that they shot down. But I watched some gameplay of that, and it didn't. It looked kind of crappy to me. I mean, it just looked like a Doom mod, or like a Duke Nukem mod. Remaking Resident Evil 4, huh? Gonna make it play more like the remake of Resident Evil 2, I would imagine. I really miss Bionic Commando. That was one of my favorite NES games. And I mean, Bionic Commando Rearmed was okay. But then when they made Rearmed 2 and they added jumping to it, it just got stupid. The whole point of the original Mega Man was that you couldn't jump, so you had to master using the bionic arm. Mega Man could have been like Metroid. Yeah, it could have. I never heard anything about God of War being first person. The only things that I've read was Jaffe talking about how when they were deciding what kind of game they wanted to make, they were looking at games like Devil May Cry, and they were saying, you know, why is this a Japanese dominated genre? There's no reason why a Western developer shouldn't be able to make a game like Devil May Cry, and that's where God of War came from. That's what Jaffe said. I'm not saying you're wrong at all. There maybe there may have been some development where they talked about doing first person, but according to Jaffe, they were basically jealous of Devil May Cry. I'd cancel Ghostwire Tokyo if you're having doubts. It doesn't look that thrilling. Uh, you know, I like those kind of open world exploration things where, you know, you're doing some combat, but then you're running around looking for hidden stuff and that kind of thing. I kind of dig that kind of vibe. And, you know, I like the setting of it in Tokyo. That interests me, so yeah, I'll give it a shot. It just irritates me that it didn't show up when it was supposed to. And I mean, I'm not really going to be playing. I wouldn't have ended up playing it this weekend anyway, because I would have been spending all my free time playing Tiny Tina. I guarantee you, I'll spend most of tomorrow playing Tiny Tina. I'll get my little projects I want to get done, and then I'll spend the rest of the day playing Tiny Tina. I've already captured enough footage of it to where I could, you know, do a review of it. So I think a remake of Resident Evil 4 would be cool if they did it in first person like they did with 7 and 8. I don't know if we'd really need a remake of done in third person, because, you know, the Resident Evil 4 as it is, there wasn't really anything wrong with the way it played, other than it still had the whole, you know, you have to stand still while you're shooting thing. Wish they'd make a new Heavenly Sword. I didn't like Heavenly Sword all that much. Oh, shoot. Hang on. We're going to have to adjust the size on this one, too, because it's not 4K. Hold on. One hour remaining. There have been 0 donations. Not a single one. Which that does bring up a good point. You guys donated for me to buy Babylon's Fall so I could make that review that I uploaded last week. What's the next game that you would want to see me review that I don't already own? Because that's what you would want to start donating for next. Be thinking about that. Seventh, do you have any favorite designs of dragons in any video games you like? What about Spyro and Cinder's designs? Not especially. You know, I like seeing different interpretations of dragons. I wouldn't say that I've got like a particular favorite design. Obviously, I really liked Smaug in the Hobbit movies. One of my favorite dragon designs is from that old 80s movie, The Dragon Slayer. I also liked the dragon in the dragons in Reign of Fire. I thought they were really cool looking. And of course, you know, the dragons in Game of Thrones looked really cool too. Didn't the main character die at the end of Heavenly Sword? I don't know. I didn't like the way it played, so I never finished it. Plus, it didn't have trophies, so I wasn't exactly motivated to finish it either. Capcom should have started remaking Code Veronica before Resident Evil 4. Well, you're not wrong. I wish they would remake Hannah Montana so that you could do another one on that. Oh, God. No. Never happened. It never happened. That was a fever dream. Y'all have all had a mass hallucination of me earning the plat and doing a review of that game. Never happened. Nope. Code Veronica was my first Dreamcast game. It was amazing. My first Dreamcast game was Soul Calibur. I went and picked mine up at the Electronics Boutique in the Avenues Mall of Jacksonville, Florida on September 9th, 1999. And the games that I got were Soul Calibur, Sonic Adventure, and NFL 2K. Those were the 3 games that I picked up. A review of Immortals Phoenix Rising would take quite a bit of work because that game takes a while to get through. I watched 8th play it, and he didn't finish it because there was so much to it. He got bored, and he moved on to another game and never finished it. But I could certainly give it a try. I already have that one on PS5, so, you know, I could certainly give it a go. Not a problem there. Didn't happen, Chris. Didn't happen. That was some other person that made that video. Somebody impersonating me. One hour remaining. Now, you know, it doesn't have to be a DBTS. If there's a game that's actually good that you guys would like me to review that I haven't purchased, You can donate towards that. It doesn't have to be a game that you guys torture me with like you did with Babylon's Fall. Good God, that game was terrible. That game was worse than Dark Alliance. And that's saying a lot. See, that was what I was considering doing today. I was considering going to GameStop and trading in that copy of Babylon's Fall so that I could get Ghostwire for like, $20. But they didn't have any. They had one. And I had to just hope that I could get there in time before somebody else bought it. 7th, do you think Jim Carrey made a good comeback with the Sonic movies? I wouldn't call it a comeback. I mean, that's like saying that Jason Lee had a good comeback making Alvin and the Chipmunks. Do you own Outward? No, I do not. I believe 8th has it on Steam, but I haven't played it. I haven't played it because it's my understanding that that's one of those games that deals with time loops a lot. And generally, I'm not a fan of like time loop mechanics in games. If I'm thinking of the right one. Platinum Games should just get bought out. I don't know what they're doing anymore. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that. Chris, trust me. Just trust me, sir. Babylon's Fall is worse than Dark Alliance. A couple of the problems with Dark Alliance were fixed in patches. There is no fixing Babylon's Fall. Why did Titanfall and Destiny fail? Well, I wouldn't say that Destiny failed. I mean, it makes millions of dollars every year. I didn't like it, but financially it's been a success. No, I've never played Resident Evil Revelations 2. I tell you one that I did play on PS3 was that Resident Evil Raccoon City or whatever it was, that third-person shooter. Oh my God. That was a real piece of crap. Platinum Games did make Bayonetta 3. Did Bayonetta 3 even come out yet? Has it even come out yet? I know it was going to be like a Switch exclusive, but has it even come out? I can't even remember. If there was an Alvin and the Chipmunks video game, would you buy it? There are Alvin and the Chipmunks video games that were, as I understand it, based on the Jason Lee movies from a few years ago, and no, I did not buy them. The problem with the first Titanfall was that it was multiplayer only. 8th really liked the second Titanfall because he said the campaign was really good. I don't know. I haven't actually played it myself. Platinum is making Bayonetta 3 right now, but its reveal trailer looked horrible. The graphics were washed out and the frame rate was dipping below 30 frames. Ugh. Why is Rockstar ignoring Max Payne, Bully, and Red Dead? Well, I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 came out in what, 2018, 2019? Yeah. Rockstar takes 5-6 years to make a game. So I wouldn't say that they've ignored Red Dead. They just haven't done the best job of keeping it alive, if you ask me, because I thought the first game was way better than the second one. Has 8th ever been to a casino? If not, would you ever take him there? No, I would not take 8th to a casino. I do not believe in gambling. I think it can lead to addiction problems, and that leads to serious money problems. And so I stay away from casinos. I don't even like playing. I don't even like playing the prize games at Dave and Buster's. Just because you can get so focused on trying to win that one prize that you want that before you know it, you've spent hundreds of dollars trying to win it when you could just go to a store and buy it for less than the amount of money you've spent trying to win. I wish there was a proper Walking Dead or Sons of Anarchy game. A good open world Sons of Anarchy would be a great game. If done right. Do you think Sony will buy Platinum Games? I don't know why they would want them. They've never been, a highly successful company. Their original stuff has sold okay, but none of it has been like massive sellers. I mean, just look at their main series, Bayonetta. Bayonetta is their main series, and it hasn't sold for shit. Like, I think the original across 360 and PS3 combined sold just a couple of million copies. It was very lackluster compared to other things that were being released during that generation. I mean, Devil May Cry in sales buries it. How much can 8th bench press? I have no idea. No clue. I didn't like Max Payne 3. There wasn't nothing wrong with the mechanics or the gameplay. I didn't like the story. Because, Max Payne always had kind of a noir mixed with a little bit of horror thrown in kind of vibe. And Max Payne 3 ditched all of that and just turned it into like another Scarface or other generic mafia-style third-person shooter thing. And I didn't like it. And I didn't like what they did with the story of it. I felt that it lost a lot of what made it unique story-wise compared to other crime games. Gameplay was fine, but the story was shit. Wonderful 101 wasn't too bad. I have the PS4 version, and I have the Wii U version still. There's not really a whole lot of point in owning a Wii U anymore, because most of its best games have been ported over to the Switch or the PS4. Super Mario 3D World, Pokken Tournament. A lot of their exclusives that were the reason you held on to your Wii U are now on Switch or PS4 or both. So there's not a whole lot of point in owning one anymore. Not unless you really enjoyed the Devil's Turd. Or Xenoblade Saga or whatever it's called. I've got that one too. Do you think a bully game where you play as a female could work like GTA did? I don't know, because I'm not trying to sound kind of one-sided on this, but at least in my experience, the way women bully each other is quite a bit different than the way boys do. So I don't know if that would work well or not. I mean, maybe if they placed it at an all-girls boarding school and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, even Zombie U was ported. I have it on PS4. It's just called Zombie. Game still sucks. Yo. Get this work. Okay. Hi there. Yeah, Mario Kart 8, Donkey Kong, Pikmin, Captain Toad, that was ported to Switch. You know, almost their entire exclusive library has been ported to Switch, PS4, or both. Not the first party stuff, obviously, but some of their third party exclusives. Are you pranking 8th on April Fools? Nah. I don't even do the Christmas prank thing anymore. Used to, I'd always get him at least one gag gift on Christmas, and it was usually the most obnoxious, fan servicey Blu-ray that I could find him, anime Blu-ray. So I just, I think the last time I did it was 2 years ago, and I got him. What's the name of that anime? Dime a Dollar or something like that. It's about these space penguin guys that are invading Earth, and there's a pilot of a giant robot that's fighting the evil penguin guys, but he's only powerful enough to pilot the robot if he's horny. So, he has to be loaded up with fan service and grab a girl's boobs and whatnot before he's able to pilot the ship. And I bought him that as a gag gift. One time I bought him the entire complete series box set of Senran Kagura as a gag. One year I got him Cat Planet Cuties, I think. One year I got him My Bride is a Mermaid, but we ended up actually liking My Bride is a Mermaid because it was actually a funny show. But, I used to, every Christmas, I'd get him some really crappy fan service laden anime as a stocking stuffer. And I just stopped doing it because it got to the point where he wasn't going to put himself through watching them. So he'd just shove them on the shelf, or he'd end up giving them to one of his friends who actually does watch that kind of stuff. Can we talk about how Smash for Wii U, 3DS, and Smash Ultimate aren't that good? They have big rosters, but a lot of other features were a downgrade from what we had in Melee and Brawl. I'm not a real fan of the series anyway, so I couldn't speak to it one way or the other. I always buy them when they come out for the collection, but I don't really play. Zombie U was probably the blueprint. Zombie U wasn't the blueprint for Dead Island. If I'm not mistaken, Dead Island came out before Zombie U. Dead Island was on PS3 before the Wii U ever came out. And 360. It predated Zombie U. Zombie U was a Wii U launch title in 2013. Dead Island came out prior to that. I like Dead Island. I don't like Zombie U. But then again, I don't like Dying Light, because Dying Light is Dead Island without the B-movie humor. It takes its plot seriously, and so I can't take it seriously, so I don't play it. I liked Dead Island. I liked Dead Island Riptide. I don't like Dying Light. That's why, years ago when they announced Dead Island 2, I was excited for it. Didn't give a crap about Dying Light. Because Dying Light feels more like The Walking Dead, whereas Dead Island feels like Return of the Living Dead, which is more my thing. Return of the Living Dead, where he had the zombie get on the radio in the cop car, and he's like, "Send more cops." That's my kind of thing. Yeah, I can only stomach zombie stuff if it's funny. If it's not funny, I don't give a crap. That's why I love, probably my favorite zombie film of all time is Return of the Living Dead 2. Baby, I love you. Please let me eat your brains. They smell so tasty. And that housewife zombie with her head lying under the car. Somebody get the screwdriver out of my head. Oh, those are so funny. I didn't care for any of them really after Return of the Living Dead 2, though, because they got real low budget and stupid after that. They weren't funny anymore. They were just bad. No, I shan't be playing Dying Light 2. I might buy it for 8th when it hits $20. I think he might actually already have it on Steam, actually. I think he might have bought it on Steam to play with his friends. But I might buy it on PS5 just to have it when it hits $20. I ain't paying $60 for it. Nope. Not gonna do it. Ugh. Another zombie movie that I like because it's got that kind of 80s dark comedy vibe to it is Night of the Comet. And I also like Night of the Creeps, even though that's not exactly a zombie movie, but it kind of sort of is. Both of those are really funny to me. Oh, so first episode of Halo. I forgot to talk about that. I think Neil Druckmann doesn't really want to be a game director. I think Neil Druckmann wants to be a movie director. And so he has used games to try to get himself to a position where he could transition out of games and into film. Best and worst Norman Reedus films. I don't know, because I'm not that familiar with the movies that he's been in. You know, Norman Reedus, I only know him for a couple of things, and that's The Walking Dead, Blade 2, and Boondock Saints 1 and 2. And I love Boondock Saints 1 and 2. And I like Blade 2. Don't care for The Walking Dead. Zombieland is kind of fun. Not a big fan of Zombieland 2 because it's basically just a rehash of the first film. Thoughts on Disney Plus turning red? Didn't watch it. Anyway, first episode of Halo. It's trash. It's absolute trash. The CGI looks like it came from the era somewhere between The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. That's how bad the CGI is. They switch to CGI models of the Spartans whenever the Spartans are doing anything other than running. The Spartans don't have any weight to them because they want them to be able to run and slide and do all these big actiony scenes, but they forgot to counter that by adding a lot of sound of heavy equipment and heavy footfalls, so it sounds like they're 1,000 pounds or whatever. They've completely deviated from the canon. So just like in some of the other reinterpretations where the creators don't give a crap about the source material they're drawing from, the show is not really about Master Chief. Master Chief is a co-star to this new Asian girl character who was a member of her father was the leader of an insurgency who was fighting against the UNSC, and as best as I can remember, this is an insurgency faction that didn't exist in the games or the expanded lore. They've been created just for this show, which means that they created this show around wanting this new character in it, which shows that they have a lack of confidence in Master Chief as a character being able to carry a show on his own, which shows that they don't respect the source material. So why in the world would you give the show to people like that And so what do you end up with? A piece of crap. Which, by the way, if you watch the first episode of Halo, plot structure-wise, it's a ripoff of The Mandalorian. You have this super-powered, masked, armored sci-fi character who, in the course of completing a mission, happens across this other life form, and for whatever reason, he decides to break protocol, go against his orders, and go rogue and run off to protect this character. It's the exact same plot of The Mandalorian. So not only could they not follow the source material, they couldn't even do actual original material for this new Halo show. They borrowed the plot from The Mandalorian and replaced Mando with Chief and replaced Grogu with an Asian girl. I've seen people complaining about the race swapping on it. I don't really care. You know, what's that character's name? General Dix or Nix or whatever he was. He was white in the games. Now he's black. Don't care. That character who was like, she was like an admiral in the UNSC Navy, and she was also like part of their secret government or secret experiment division or whatever. She used to be an old white lady, and now she's an Indian lady. Don't care. The big difference there is that they've implied that that the general guy who used to be white, now he's black, had an affair with Halsey, and they had a daughter together. I don't remember that being in the Halo games. I could be wrong, but I don't remember that being in the Halo games, that Halsey hooked up with one of the generals in the military and had a daughter. I don't remember that happening either. There's just a bunch of stuff in there that you're like, why is this there? Why couldn't you just flesh out the story of the original trilogy and just do that? They'd be watching that like crazy, but now that's not what you did, and so people are complaining left and right. It's just the same thing over and over again. They take an established property and they're like, this property is really popular. There must be a reason why it's really popular. But we don't understand it, so we're just going to make it its own thing. And it fails. As far as I can see, Halo is just going to be another Cowboy Bebop. And Cowboy Bebop technically was closer to the source material than this has been so far. Ugh. He took his helmet off in the first episode. Come on. I don't have a problem with Chief taking his helmet off, but taking it off in the very first episode, that's like going to see the Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd, and Dredd takes his helmet off 15 minutes into the movie and never puts it back on again. It detracts from the mystique of the character when you do that. And that just shows that you have a general lack of respect for the source material. People like that should not be put in charge of existing properties. If you don't want to follow the existing property, then go write your own original thing and get that financed. This is like two guys that wanted to make their own sci-fi show, but they couldn't get the money to make an original thing because Hollywood's afraid to do original things anymore. And so they're like, oh, you just bought the Halo license, huh? Screw those type of people. And I'm not even a super fan of Halo to begin with, but I know enough of the lore that a lot of my friends who are really into Halo are really pissed off right now. And so I'm kind of saying this on behalf of them. I liked Halo 1 and 2, Solis. If Halo 3 is when I started to dislike it. Yes, Nancy, Chief's face is shown in the very first episode. I am the law. No, law. I haven't played the new Kirby game, Samurai. I haven't had a chance to buy it yet. And I mean, I just don't play Switch that much because my Switch is the Switch Lite. 8th's is the full Switch that hooks up to the TV. And so, you know, I haven't been going anywhere, so I don't have a reason to play a portable game. And plus, it's like when I devote time to playing a Switch game, I'm not adding to my my gamer tag or my PlayStation trophy score. So I feel like I'm wasting my time when I play Nintendo games because I'm not building anything for my profile. And that's just because of the way I'm built, man. Yeah, I grew up in an era when high score was the thing. And so trophies matter to me. Gamer tag matters to me because that's my equivalent of high score now. Nintendo doesn't have it, so I don't care as much about Nintendo as I used to. I haven't played Elden Ring yet. I keep getting pulled away to other stuff. 8th wants to play it co-op, but I've just been doing other things, mostly work. Here's the funniest part, Nancy. They show his face. They show Master Chief's face, and it's a dude that kind of looks like Solid Rev. Only the guy that plays Chief, his head is more square, whereas Rev's kind of gets smaller as it gets closer to the top of his head. You know, his head up here is a lot thinner than his head here, which was probably from when he was born, when they pulled him out of his mother. You're supposed to put a birthing cap on the baby after pulled out of the mother because the skull of a newborn is basically mush. And so they put that cap on the head to properly shape the skull because the top of the skull gets smushed a little bit when pulled out of the mother. And I don't think they put that cap on Rev when he was born because he's still kind of narrow up here and wide down here. So, but other than that, the guy that they hired to play Chief has a bit of a Solid Rev look to him. Yes, I do overtime at work. No, I do not get paid for it. I'm salary. Do you think Killzone's forever dead? Never say never, but I don't think they're looking to bring it back anytime soon. Nintendo need to add Mario coins as trophies and maybe a star as a platinum. Yeah. I mean, they kind of half-assed did it on the Wii U with this system they called accomplishments, but it wasn't an overall score. It didn't add to an overall score. You had to dig down several menus deep into the me menu, and you'd find the accomplishments section, and you just had to click on the individual games to see what you had earned with each individual game. But it didn't add to an overall score that you could see on your profile or nothing. It was lame. It was half-assed. The bad part isn't that they show his face, it's that they do it so fast. We've known what Chief looks like. He actually canonically looks like Solid Rev. Yeah, I mean, they got the look right. It's just the fact that they did it in the very first episode of the freaking show. It totally destroys the mystique around the character. How many hours per week on average do you work, 7th? Between 60 to 65. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that... I'm not really making fun of Rev. You know, it takes all kinds... And he's in a lot better shape than I am. Has always been. Way taller than me. You know, I'd look like a dwarf if I was standing next to Rev. I'm not saying he's a pinhead like they used to have at the carnivals or anything. I'm just saying that his head is narrower at the top than it is here. And that's probably because when he was born, the hospital didn't put a birthing cap on him. So the top of his head still has that squished by vagina shape. Do you think the Halo TV series will make someone make a Killzone TV series to compete? No, because they're not making Killzone games anymore. I'd like there to be an Infamous TV series. I think an Infamous series would be good. Nintendo should add a trophy system, but some of their I heard they're making a movie of Ghost of Tsushima. Nintendo should add a trophy system, but some of their fans are against them for some reason, as if it'll detract from the experience. I don't think it would detract from the experience. I think it might expose a bunch of people for not playing Nintendo as much as they claim they do. What do you do for a living? I work in IT. Rev is 6'7". Yeah, he's almost an entire foot taller than me. I'm like right in between 5'8" and 5'9". Same as my dad. They added an achievement system, but it's not the way we want it. Yeah, because it's not a unified system. It's like each game has its own individual achievements, which that's been a thing since like at least the PS2 era. Are you going to watch the Last of Us TV series? I'll watch the first episode of it, and if it sucks, I ain't watching any more. No, I haven't seen the Uncharted movie. I'll watch it when it hits on demand. What was it that I recently watched on demand that just came out? Oh, I watched Jackass Forever the other day. It was on Paramount Plus, and I had a lot of fun with it. I don't think it's as fun as the original 3 films. I'm not saying that that's because Bam Margera and Ryan Dunn aren't in it, but it has a bunch of new people, and out of those new people, the one that they called Poopies was the only one that felt like he really had any kind of personality to him. The others were just kind of there. And they had added a woman to the cast, and she didn't do a whole lot in it. Like the only thing that she did where it was dedicated to her as a stunt was she sat there and let a scorpion sting her on the lip. And she just wasn't in it very much at all. And I'm like, I don't have a problem with there being, women jackasses in Jackass, but she was very reserved in personality compared to the other guys, and she didn't do that much. If you're gonna add women to Jackass, they need to be as over the top personality and obnoxious as everybody else is. Otherwise, they kind of stick out like a sore thumb. I feel like they cut a lot of her out of it, really, because she's barely in it. I can't imagine that what we see of her is all that they actually filmed. But then again, they filmed a bunch of stuff with Bam and then cut it all out because of the falling out with Bam. So I don't know if they're going to put all that in Jackass Forever .5 or what they're going to do. A Gravity Rush anime would be good. Yeah. 7th, remember the time you scared off that metrosexual that was being a jerk to you when you and 8th went to see the Slender Man movie? Yes. He was the one that accused me of stealing his wallet because his wallet had fallen out of his pocket because his woman was using him as a piece of furniture and was lying all over him during the movie, and she caused his wallet to fall out of his pants. Stupid prick. Which is better, Infamous or Prototype? I liked Infamous better. I feel Infamous was better balanced than Prototype. Prototype was kind of all over the place. Infamous had a better balance to it. Are you still working at home? Yep. Still working at home. Work on the laptop every day. I've been working from home for over 2 years now. And here's the funny part. I couldn't go work at the office if I wanted to because the area that used to be where my desk was has been taken over by executives. So now they don't have an office space for me anymore. So they were like, 7th, you can go, we're going to just keep you working from home and you can go live anywhere you want. You don't have to be in Texas. You can go anywhere. As long as you can get on the internet, that's fine with us. But, despite the fact that everything's getting so expensive here in Texas, 8th doesn't want to leave Texas because all of his friends live here. Otherwise, I'd go back to Florida or thanks Skills and K Play for subscribing. Appreciate it. I'd go back to Florida or I'd even go to Tennessee just to get, so that the housing would be back to Tennessee. So the housing would be cheaper and everything else would be cheaper. I mean, with Florida, it would depend on what part of Florida you lived in. You could probably get a house fairly cheap in Jacksonville. But the closer you got to Disney or Miami, the more expensive it would get. Tennessee, I could get a house this big for probably less than $200,000, depending on what part of Tennessee I was moving to. Do you like that show, Impractical Jokers? Not really. Thoughts on gas prices in Texas? I know they were talking about stopping charging gas tax in Texas to try to lower the price. But honestly, the prices I've seen in Texas haven't been as bad as everywhere else because we have our own sources of oil down here. So the prices haven't fluctuated as much. But here's the thing. It's not really affecting me one way or the other as far as gas goes because I don't go anywhere. I have filled up my gas tank twice in the last 2 years. This is God honest truth. My car, I bought my car in 2018 and it was used. It had 19,000 miles on it when I bought it. I still don't have 30,000 miles on that car. This is probably the car I'll have when I die because I'm getting my money's worth out of it. It's going to last me way longer than the 5 years a car you normally would. Let's see here. How you like the work from home experience? I'm fine with it. I enjoy it. Allows me to be around 8th more. When I'm working, 8th can come in here. He can hang out. He can talk. I don't have to take myself away from him for 9 hours a day anymore. Which, of course, eventually he's going to grow up and have he's grown up now. He's 19, but he's going to have a life of his own, and that's an eventuality. But for the time that I have left with him, I want to make the most of it, and working from home allows me to do that. Oh, I don't want to go back to North Carolina. I'd go back to Tennessee before North Carolina. I would go back to Chattanooga before I went to North Carolina. No, the metrosexual guy didn't scare me in 8th. It was just kind of annoying because, we get up and while we're trying to watch this movie, dude's been laying there in the recliner with his wife or girlfriend or whatever draped all over him, kind of fooling around during the film, and me and 8th haven't said anything to him, nothing, haven't bothered him at all. We stand up, and the first thing he does is accuse me of taking his wallet. So I gave him what for? And he just kind of sat there. Well, sorry, sir. Sorry. I ain't gonna put up with that shit. You're the dumbass that was sitting in a reclining position with your wife wrapped all around, your wife or girlfriend wrapped all around you and rubbing all over you and rubbed your wallet out of your pocket. If you're going to be doing that in a movie theater, at least put a chain on the sumbitch. Wear a chain wallet, dumbass. I loved Florida too. Didn't like the hurricanes that much, but I loved Florida. I'm originally from Tennessee. I lived in Florida for 10 years. Did you see what happened in Orlando to that kid in Florida? The one that fell from the tower? Yeah. I mean, I feel bad for him, but at this, he never should have been allowed to get on that ride. He was way too big for that ride. Dude was like 6'7" and over 340 pounds. And you can see in the footage when he goes up that he barely fits in that seat. And so when it dropped and you had all that upward air pressure hitting under his legs at 75 miles an hour, it just sucked him out from under the shoulder restraint and he fell. He never should have been allowed on that ride. Even if it had had the seatbelt part that comes up between your legs and snaps onto the shoulder harness, which I don't think that ride does, he should not have been allowed on it. They should have blocked him from getting on it. He was way too big for that ride. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. It's negligence on the part of the people that were running the ride. I just don't like Impractical Jokers. I just don't like the show. I don't like the guys that are in it. I don't know. There's something about them I don't like. Why don't you like North Carolina? Because I lived there for several years and I didn't like it. You got state income tax there. There's a lot of drunk driving deaths that occur there. I don't like the winters there. For some reason, the winters in Chattanooga seem to be milder than North Carolina, even though they're on the same general, distance from the equator on the latitude and longitude. They're all along the same line as Chattanooga, but for some reason, Chattanooga's winters seem to be milder than North Carolina's, and the job market there sucks. But now, job market ain't that much of a problem for me because I have a job anywhere I go. I could move to frickin' Astoria, Oregon, the home of the Goonies, if I wanted to, and do the same job. It's just a matter of the cost of living, because my cost of living is not going to change where I move to. I couldn't do this job and live in California, for example. It'd be way too expensive. And now, Texas is starting to get the beginnings of getting that same way. There's no way that this house is worth $1,650 a month in rent. There's just no way. My rent has gone up every year for the 5 years that I've been here by at most $50. And then this year, $165. It's insane. Do I see any turtles in Texas? Now, I have yet to see a turtle out in the wild. I've seen turtles in captivity, but I haven't seen any out in the wild. But what I have seen are coyotes, tarantulas, snakes, tarantula hawks, and scorpions. But I've not seen any turtles. Would you consider moving to a different country? Nope. I remember Florida because of meme after the Trayvon Martin incident, because I remember people used to talk about visiting Florida. The big meme for Florida is Florida Man. You want to do something fun? Go onto Google and search Florida Man and then put the date of your birth, the date and month, not the year, but the date and month of your birth, and see what stories pop up for the news. It's hilarious because no matter what date you put in, somewhere around that time, there's going to be some insanity that a Florida man did in Florida. Have you seen any alligators in Texas? No, used to see them a lot in Florida, though. When I worked at Disney, they had a little pond next to the parking lot, and there was an alligator that lived in that pond. And repeatedly, they'd had animal services come and take that alligator away and drop that alligator off in the Everglades. And months later, he'd be the same one, tagged and everything, would be back in that pond. He would migrate from wherever they took him to go back to that pond. That was his pond. And he never really bothered anybody. You know, people would walk in and out of that parking lot all the time, and all he'd do is stare at them. He wouldn't chase them or anything. Yeah, I worked at Disney for 2 years. I worked in there. It was during a period where there wasn't a lot available for IT jobs in that part of Florida. Uh, right at the year after 9/11, and so I was needing work. My wife was pregnant with eighth. I needed a job. I needed medical care because the baby was coming. And the first place that called me back was the Walt Disney Travel Company, and so I ended up working as a on the phone travel agent for Disney. Although that's not what they called me. They called me a world file, which a world file was someone that knew everything about the Florida property backwards and forwards. So, you know, I knew every hotel, I knew every park, I knew every ride, I knew every road, I knew, I could quote from memory how to get to one place to the other, including the names of the roads. I knew every restaurant, every dining experience, every gift shop, every stage show. I knew all of it by heart. And so I was a classification called World File, which was I was basically an on-the-phone concierge. I could help people get a reservation, but I could also sit down with them over the phone and plan out an entire itinerary for their trip. So, today we can have you eat here, and then we can have you go and do jet skiing, and then we can take you over here and you can have this special meet and greet experience and blah, blah, blah. That's what I did. And I did it for 2 years. They didn't pay worth a crap, but the perks were awesome because Eighth practically lived at Disney World for like the first year and a half of his life. Mickey Mouse taught him how to walk. We took him for his, I think it was first birthday at this restaurant in Epcot called the Garden Grill. It's in the Land Pavilion, and it's a slowly rotating restaurant. And they had characters there at that time. And they had Mickey, Minnie, and Chip and Dale there. And we let the waitress know that it was our son's first birthday and that I was a cast member. And so the characters came walking over, and they basically all sat down Indian style on the floor and took Eighth and were just passing him back and forth. So Eighth was just in the floor with Mickey, Minnie, and Chip and Dale playing. And eventually Mickey handed Eighth to Minnie, and Mickey stood up, and then he walked over and he picked up Eighth, and he set Eighth down on his feet and held his hands like this and just started slowly walking Eighth around the restaurant. And after 2 or 3 trips around the restaurant, Mickey got back in front of our table and he let go like this and slowly backed away, and Eighth just walked out following him. So how many of you can say that Mickey Mouse taught your kid how to walk? True story. Fort Myers I lived in 2 different parts of Florida. I lived in Jacksonville, and I lived in Tampa for a while. And Fort Myers was south of Tampa. I didn't really go there that much. I went and did a couple of installs down there in Fort Myers and in the Brandon area. Brandon or Bradenton, one of the two. It's somewhere in there. 7th, do you remember that story about a crocodile that ate a kid on a queue and did no? They didn't eat a kid in a queue, and it wasn't a crocodile; it was an alligator. What happened was the Magic Kingdom is here, and then over here from the I'm standing at the main entrance to Magic Kingdom, and I'm looking out towards the Seven Seas Lagoon. To my left is the Contemporary Resort. Directly across on the other side of the lagoon is the Polynesian Resort. Over to my right is the Grand Floridian Resort, which is the most expensive of the three. This kid and his parents were staying at the Grand Floridian, which has a beach that's on the banks of this man-made lake. It's not salt water, it's fresh water, it's a lake. And this kid was allowed to get close to the water, even though there are signs that say this lake is not for swimming, do not swim in this lake. And an alligator came up out of the water and snatched him and then pulled him down to the bottom of the lake and spun him around until he suffocated, and then stuck him up under a little embankment thing to hold him there until he was ready to eat him. That's what alligators often do. If they attack a person, they don't eat them live. They drag them down in the water and they spin them around in the water until they drown, and then they tuck them up under something that's going to hold them down there until they're ready to have lunch. And that's what happened to this kid. But they happened to, the rescuers got out in the water and they found the body before the alligator had a chance to eat him. And that's what happened. By the way, we have 3 minutes left. There's been no donations, so this is going to be a 3-hour show. Kaspersky, Norton, but Defender, Avast, AVG. Which one, in your opinion, is a better antivirus for PC? I've had experience with Norton. I've had experience with Kaspersky. I haven't had any experience with Avast or AVG. I wouldn't recommend using McAfee. But really, my experience with antivirus is that as long as you're halfway, if you have a halfway decent brain and you're not messing around with stuff that you're not sure of, most people out there probably wouldn't need anything more than Windows Defender, to be honest with you. It's when you start messing with a lot of torrenting and stuff like that you open yourself up for risk. And if you're one of these idiots that thinks anything that comes to your inbox is safe, and so you click on it without thinking twice about it, Otherwise, antivirus software can be a major memory hog and can really drag down the performance of your PC, depending on what features you have turned on. 7th, do you think Quentin Tarantino's cameo in Little Nicky was hilarious? It was pretty funny. $2 from True Virgil. What you been gaming on lately? Thank you for the $2. Here's your $1 bill that was too small because I switched to 4K. There you go. $1 bill, y'all. None of them just use Windows security. No. They don't. Because most computers come installed with some form of antivirus or what have you protection. But, most corporations, they use like a combination of Windows and Norton or something to that effect. Why does Sony keep messing with the leveling system? I don't know. It's becoming more popular, so maybe they wanted people to not feel so insignificant as a new player when compared to players that have been on PlayStation for 13 years. I don't know. Anyway, it's 9 o'clock. We did not hit the $50 extension goal, so this is where I'm going to have to cut things off. Be thinking about what you want to talk about next week. If any of you think of a game that you would like to see me review that I don't currently own, that you want to donate towards me getting to play,